feel like people who I thought were my friends, Surprise Shirts, are about to stitch me up. They said, hey, we really like your Youth to Gold. Do you want a challenge? I said, of course. This can't go well. Now, avoiding all spoilers, we'll get rid of that straight away and we'll open it. I mean, I'll tell you what, they've really upped the packaging. Packaging is absolutely spot on. But whoever this team is, we've got to do a Youth to Gold. We're only allowed to sign teenagers. We're not allowed to use players 30 or above. Well, that ain't good. I don't even know this is going to be possible. Just double checking, by the way. Oh, God. It's Stranraer. Yeah, we're doing a lower league Youth to Gold. I've never done that before. All right, now that I've got the kit on, I think I like it less. I mean, obviously, as an Englishman, tartan is not exactly for me. I respect it. Don't get me wrong. But is the Joma badge really close to the actual club logo or what? Is it supposed to be like that? Stranraer? Like, what's going on? Let me just finish the Haribo, and I'll tell you more about the club. Now, as always with Surprise Shirts, they give me a little bit of information about not only the shirt that I'm wearing, but the club itself. Now, it's a semi-professional club in Scotland. They're actually in the 4th tier. So this is the lowest I'll ever done a Youth to Gold. And in fact, they are the 3rd oldest Scottish team, which makes them one of the 20 oldest clubs in the world. Nice little factoid about the club there. But they also have finished bottom last season. Now, they didn't get relegated to the Highland, well, the Lowland Leagues even, the Lowland Leagues, because they played a playoff against East Kilbride, which they won, and avoided relegation. Which actually means, on Football Manager, they are technically the worst Scottish team on the game. And I've got to rebuild them, or just build them, using Youth to Gold. Now, as I become the manager of Stranraer on Football Manager, let me tell you a little bit about how the Youth to Gold system works. You are only allowed to sign teenagers, that is players 19 years of age or younger, and you're not allowed from Season 2 to use players 30 years or above. You have to sell them, get rid of them, and just not use them. Now, we're off to a good start because I accidentally loaded the database in January, so I've had to go all the way through to August. But I have made some signings because of that. And once I've forgiven Surprise Shirts for giving me this monumental task that we have on our hands today, I'll tell you a little bit more about what you can do with Surprise Shirts to really up your enjoyment with Football Manager. But for now, let's look at some of the signings that I have made, because I have brought in a few free transfers. We've got Darren Watson. He's 20 now, but he was 19 when I signed him. Callum Simpson, exactly the same. And what I'm looking for at this very early stage is, do they have any potential in the game or not? Now, I can't judge it too much on some of these players because the scouts that I have at my disposal are also terrible, which we'll have to improve as we go along. Again, another player that was 20 now, but was 19 when we signed him, Ryan Schiavone. As you can see here, he was 20 on the 5th in May, whereas I actually signed him in January there. Reese Beveridge, 19 years of age, not a bad goalkeeper either, 5-star potential compared to our squad that's in our team at the minute. I've also made use of the loan market. This is my plan for the first couple of seasons at least, maybe if we ever get stuck as well, to use the loan market. And we've brought in Harvey Petrie here, 17, Shea Burke from Falkirk, he's also 17, or Falkirk, I'm sorry. Alistair Davidson, another loanee from Celtic this time round, who's actually really good standard for our football team. That's saying something, because he is genuinely awful. But I think because he's got decent physical attributes in that left-back role, he looks quite good. Now, as I mentioned, the staff that I have at my disposal aren't great. And the fact that I've already got 3 scouts and I'm only allowed 2 says it all, really. 5 player ability, so I'm judging potential as well, 5. So they're telling me this is a 5-star player, but you have 5 out of 20 judging player ability and potential. This guy's only got 3. So at the minute, we might be really struggling because the players that we're bringing in apparently are amazing. I mean, I should let this guy have a go at it because he's 10 out of 20. But they're telling me these guys should be amazing, but they could be completely wrong. That's what we got to get to eventually. We've got to have better scouts. We've got to have a better outfit in terms of Stranraer, because right now, reputation's low, training facilities are terrible, youth facilities are even worse. And we're playing at Stair Park, which only has a 4,000 seater capacity, which of course it's not going to get us many tickets through the door. So right now, this is a club that should be one of the hardest, and probably is the hardest team to take on in terms of Youth to Gold. But hey, I'm up for the challenge. Now, in terms of the system I am rocking this season, it's an attacking 4-3-3, but we've got 2 wingers instead of 3 in the midfield, as you can see, allowing Burke, who's one of the loan signings we have made, to be sort of a sole centre midfielder and make use of the amount of strikers that we've got. Thomas Orr is one of our best players, although he is currently injured or awaiting treatment. He is one of our best players at a 4-star current ability. He's 26 as well. We do have a couple of players who are quite old. Mark Russell is 27 again. We might not be able to use him for a long time, but there are a few players in here that are fairly young that we can definitely use going forward. And the start of the season seemed positive. We won our first 2 games, including the start of the season against Forth Fire with a cracking 2-0 win. A loss in the Cup second round isn't too much to be grumbled about, but then another win against Spartans, and I think we're going to be really good this season until we got back-to-back losses at the start of the season and find ourselves currently in 4th after 5 games. Now, in this division, one side gets automatic promotion, the other has to go through a qualification or a playoff stage against the teams around them. So our aim was simple: either get ourselves automatic promotion early on, or at least challenge for those playoff spots in year 1. When the league campaign came to a finish, we were sat in 2nd place, meaning we went into the playoffs and won the first leg of the semi-final against Elgin City 5-1. We lost the second leg 4-2, but it didn't matter, we were through to the final. We then had to face Clyde in the final, and after being 3-0 up, we thought we were laughing until they scored 2 very late goals in the first leg. So with just a 1-goal lead going into the second leg of the playoff final, if we win this, we gain promotion in our first year of Youth to Gold. But then that's when it gets really hard, because any player who's 30 or above, we kind of have to sell. But that's a problem for next season, because this season we are celebrating as we've scored 5 goals and guarantee our promotion to the next division. Although it was very close on the night, a 5-4 win, meaning an 8-6 win on aggregate, we are promoted and going into Cinch League 1. I was definitely right to back our strike force. They scored 25, 22, and another couple of strikers got on the score sheet quite a lot. 29 assists from 28-year-old Mark Russell. We've got 1 year left of using him. But the likes of Adam Cummings, who scored 17 goals last season, we're going to have to get rid of this year. And it's not like we've got money flooding through the door to allow us to replace them. Just a wage budget, no transfer budget whatsoever. And our finances are actually in the red. They don't have that much debts and loan, but exactly, Stranraer's not going to be a club that's going to give us loads of money. I stuck by the rules of Youth to Go, though. Adam Cummings at 31 has left the club, and I actually managed to get 1.6k for him, which isn't too bad, as well as this guy going for 5k. He's quite young, quite good, but 5k added to the budget has allowed me to sign a lot of players. Now, most of them are free transfers, although I have dived into the loan market and spent 11k on this young lad here, who looks like quite a good Irish centre-back. But let's have a look at the players I brought in on frees, because some of them we may see develop into first-team players, some of them we may never see again. Simon Simpson, for example, looks like a really good prospect up front. Martin Gemmell, just 16 years of age. I've kind of capitalized a lot on these types of players. Andrew Lynn, 19, coming in. Jack Devlin, not bad on the left-hand side or the right-hand side. Again, 18 with a good potential. Ben Johnson from Queen of the South, just 19 on the right-hand side. And Chris McGinn. Not amazing, but still, he is a first-team player at just age 19. The start of the season has been a rough one. We have not even scored a goal in the league so far, so I've ended up having to switch the tactic around, and we're going for a little bit more of a defensive style with a 4-4-1-1. The switch around seemed to have worked, as we then went and won 2 of our next 3 games and draw in the 3rd, and we look a lot more comfortable. The sticking point is, of course, we were never even favourites to go up last season, so the predicted 150-1 really shows that we are destined to go down. So it's my job to make sure that doesn't happen, and I need to save this club, just like I can save you money when you go to surpriseshirts.co.uk. And that's because, of course, I've always vouched that Surprise Shirts are the best place to go to get yourself a mystery football shirt because they have the FM edition. On the FM edition, it means that you get a team which is guaranteed to be on the base game of Football Manager, just like Stranraer. You can also select that if you don't want to see a specific team, then you don't have to, or a league, or even a colour. You can specify that on there when you go to buy a shirt. But once you've selected that, if you just want the one shirt, if you put in Luke 10 at checkout, you get yourself 10% off. But what's better than 10%? 20%. That's right, for the first time, Surprise Shirts are supplying me with a code that you can get 20% off if you go for the subscription package, which means every month you get yourself a brand new shirt. And I quite like that idea. If you use Luke 20 at checkout, 20% off every single month, you get a new shirt to possibly try a new save on Football Manager, because this discount code also applies for the FM edition. So make sure you're supporting my sponsors, as you always do with Surprise Shirts, because they are the very best. Use Luke 10 at checkout for just that one single shirt, or Luke 20 if you're getting yourself a subscription. And make sure you tag me and them in the post when you get your shirt through. Back to Season 2, and it has been a very tough start to this season, but I do think there are signs of positivity. This team is very much capable of beating anybody on their day and stuffing in a lot of goals. Loan signing Mackenzie Ross at just 18 from Hearts has been a revelation. We're not even paying any wages towards him, and he's been fantastic, scoring 13 goals in his first 21 games. And he has certainly helped us as we get to the halfway point, picking up a lot of wins. We very rarely draw games, but in the League One we are currently in 6th place, with 9th and 10th being the danger zone, and we're already 9 points clear of Dumbarton in 9th. We're not exactly close to the playoff positions though this season. I think we just need a bit of stability and make sure we stay in the division. And that is exactly what we did. We stayed middle of the road, 47 points, finishing in 5th place, securing our spot in the Cinch League One next season, but nowhere near the 62 points of Airdronians who finished in the playoffs. So it's back to the drawing board. We've got to start finding some new talent to bring into Stranraer, and of course, see if there's anybody we need to get rid of. And we need to replace Mackenzie Ross, because he scored a lot of goals for us this season. In fact, he was the only player to get double figures with 22 goals in roughly 40 games. We are really going to miss the guy from Hearts. We actually have a bit of a budget next season though. 17 grand in the bank there in our transfer budget, with the wage budget of roughly 3 grand as well. Annoyingly, Hearts wouldn't let me have Mackenzie Ross back, and he's gone into the Hearts B team, which it seems like such a waste. So instead I looked to the Premier League and I brought in a couple of unbelievable strikers. One from Wolves in Fabian Salmon, and then we have CM Ayew from Manchester United, who is even better. And for this standard, he looks fantastic at just 17. And the best bit about him, of course, is that he's not a loan deal. He's a permanent transfer to our club. As you can see, from then on, we looked into the loan market for a bit. We brought in 3 players here, which will add numbers to our squad. I mean, Sinan Devine here on the left-hand side looks rather good. Matthew Davidson from Greenock Morton again on the right-hand side looks decent. But then we found some more free transfers, and these, I think, is what's going to take us to the next level, as well as the other loan deals. We've been really busy this summer, and we found some fantastic talents, including Alistair Davison. Of course, he was at our club from Celtic previously at left back. Will Brown, who looks really good at just age 18 years of age, and we're looking for these young Scottish players, because if they develop, they become homegrown talents. That's even better for us. Thomas Hatton, you remember we might did a video on not so long ago when we used the released Wonder Kids. That was quite good, and as soon as I seen his name, I knew I wanted to bring him to the club, and he's already a 4.5-star player here at aged 19. But then we've got some loan deals again, because the loan market is where we are really gonna thrive, I think, and get ourselves up into the top division eventually. Liam Hogan looks like he can be a really good player. Sean Kelly at Aberdeen, 17 years of age, looks absolutely fantastic. And finally, Jamie Bullock a quality centre-back. I've switched the system as well to allow us to have 2 strikers up front, going for a more of a wide diamond formation. And it's been a fantastic start to the season with a 5-1 win on the opening day, new players linking up, and Ayoub scoring a hat-trick. And this time as well, we're not strapped right down to the bottom in 10th place in the season preview. They actually think we stand a chance. At this moment, Mark Russell is the only player that this season will cause us trouble in terms of being too old. He will turn 30 in March, and I have stuck him on the unwanted list, but right now nobody's coming in for him. We're okay until March, so we've got the rest of this transfer window in August and of course in January to get rid of him, but I am a little bit worried. Our good start to the season ironically ended when we played Queen of the South away from home, but that's still 4 wins from 5 and we're still sat top of the Cinch League 1, which I'm very happy with. Results did drop off though as we started getting into the season and more fixtures came, and we did start sliding down the table. We took a lot more losses than what I hoped as we went into November, only winning the Scottish Cup in the 3rd round and actually not really winning very much after that either. And we're actually sat in 3rd place right now with Inverness flying miles above us, so a playoff spot is what we've got to hope for. Inverness did indeed win the league with 71 points, which was 9 points in the end above Cove Rangers, but we were alright. We were down in 4th place and we will go into the playoffs, and we have Ayr United to play next. And with the first leg being played at home, we took a cracking 3-1 lead into the second leg, where a 1-1 draw was just enough to send us to the playoff final. Cove Rangers was the team we faced in that final, and after finishing in 2nd place, they were definitely favourites, but didn't show it, as we absolutely battered them in the first leg 3-0, and now go to their stadium with a huge advantage, where Ayoub scored in the 3rd minute to give us an even bigger advantage, and we cruised through, winning 4-1 on the night, 7-1 on aggregate. And our promotion from the 3rd tier into the 2nd tier was complete. Thankfully, this time round, we weren't relying on a loan signing to come back, with CM Ayoub getting 30 goals this season, although he is wanted by a number of clubs and it's going to be really difficult to keep hold of him. The board continued to raise our budgets. We got £27,000 with a nice little wage budget as well, and our finances are looking a lot more healthier. Bids for Ayoub have come through. Motherwell even had a bid accepted, but I managed to negotiate with our chairperson to actually reject it in the end, and he is not happy. He wants to move. It was the right decision though, because Motherwell came back with another bid for £100,000 this time round, which the board then refused to reject. And although that is a bad thing, we do get to loan him back next season. My scouts finally though found a player that might be worth picking up. Charlie Ricketts, just 18 years of age, currently out of contract at Farsley Celtic, and is easily approachable right now to sign, and he looks absolutely fantastic and is willing to join us full-time for 3 years on a really low wage. I finally had enough money in the bank to actually allow us to have a decent scouting budget, and it has been working. If we're looking at the players that my scouts are finding now, we are actually finding talented players who want to join us. That 100k of transfer alone has allowed us to bring in and reinvest into the club. Charlie Ricketts did indeed join. We've got James Scanlon, who has joined on a free transfer as well from Manchester United. Looks really good. Leo Cardoso, a Portuguese centre attacking midfielder, again looks fantastic. And we're even reinvesting back into the club, allowing us to now have 5 scouts who are finding some fantastic players, by the way. Look at this left back. And more signings are coming through the door, with Brandon Lana, a really good centre back from Uruguay, and of course Diallo, who we just seen earlier, the left back, 19 years of age from Senegal. And although selling Ayoub absolutely sucks, he was our best player, kind of selling him is the right thing to do, because we're going up a division now and we're signing players that we never would have had any expense or right to be able to sign if it wasn't for the Ayoub deal. We've now got enough money to pay for them. And, of course, because we're going up, we need them to stay in that division. Whereas just having Ayoub, I don't think might have been enough going up a division. Also, of course, we still actually have Ayoub at the club. He's just on loan from Motherwell for another year. We are indeed rocking the same diamond formation that got us promotion last season, and the season is already underway, and our first game is a win. We even defeated Inverness, who of course absolutely ran away with our division last year, 2-0 away from home. But a loss to Falkirk wasn't the worst thing that happened on this day, because James Scanlon got himself injured, and it was a really bad one, as unfortunately for him, he's broke his ankle and he's going to be out for a very long time. 6 to 7 months in fact, but the good thing is, although he was our starting number 10, we have a very good backup in Leo Cardoso, who wasn't actually getting into the team. Overall then, a really good transfer window, the 100k of CM Ayoub out and 25k in, which was only Sammy Harrison from Dulwich Hamlet. Not a bad goalkeeper to bring in. We did really begin to struggle though, and the championship started to take its toll on our team. Ayoub is still our main man up front though. He is the guy who has been bagging the most goals for us and every now and then pulls out a brace or a hat-trick. Without him, we might be really struggling. Currently right now, we are 3 points above Wraith Rovers, who go into the playoff spot should the season finish like this. In January though, I'm still looking at transfers, and bringing in Scott Wilson at right back from Hearts is a good option for us. He was the only signing we did get done through this January transfer window, but what we have done is for the end of the season secured the signing of Oliver Copeland, and what we hope to do as well is bring in Ewan McCracken on the same sort of deal. There was nothing glamorous about this season. In fact, we picked up quite a lot of losses and we struggled a lot of the time, but we still managed to secure ourselves a position in the division next season, finishing 8 points above Wraith Rovers. And we are definitely going to have to find ourselves a replacement for CM Ayoub. He got 24 goals this season alone and will return to his home club Motherwell. But the board have backed us again. 39 grand in the transfer budget, £100 per wage in the wage budget. Means we probably have to swap things around, but we have a good and healthy budget to go into next season. And of course, there's always ways to increase that, like this bid for James Scanlon from Hearts, 74k, and it gives us a nice percentage of profit from next sale, which I am willing to accept. And it doesn't stop there. We added this bid for Prince Richardson come in, who is a player that we bought last season on a free transfer. He's not even that good, for 100k, and we've even added a 50% percentage of next sale, not even profit, and we get to loan him back for the end of the season. It's little tips like this that if you take on your own Youth to Gold challenge, maybe you go to Surprise Shirts as well and find yourself with a lower league team to do a Youth to Gold, that you need to be implementing. Buying these free transfer players who not necessarily are going to be world beaters when they get any better, but just one season later you turn over a huge profit. For a club of my size, 100k is massive, double the bank balance, and yet there's a percentage of next sale of 50%. They sell that player for £1 or £2 million, 500k, maybe £1 million, plus you get to loan him for another season. It's win-win-win.
Nice.
And it's tips like that which is why you should be subscribed to this channel. Now, I've just found Ryan Delange. He's 6'5" with 15 finishing and 15 technique. And all I did to find him was search the attributes of finishing, first touch, and technique of 15 for a striker that is under 20. Again, that's something that I always do in Youth to Gold. I just pick 3 or 4 different random attributes and search. Sometimes you don't get any, sometimes you find a player like that. I found some more free transfers and some more loan targets. Rory Whittaker joined us before his 20th birthday. We've also got Jordan Ross, who's joined on loan. Really good striker potentially in the future. Only going to be a backup though. And then we've got these two guys. Bakari, a 19-year-old Nigerian centre-back who looks really good, and Damien Levy, a free transfer that I am really happy with. French, 19-year-old CDM who can also play at right back, released from PSG, and he's now signed for Stranraer. This is a cheeky deal though. Charlie Ricketts has left the club. We signed him on a free transfer, only actually played him 9 games, sold him for 91k, and he's been loaned back to us for the season. But I have resorted back to the 4-4-1-1 formation. I think it definitely suits us better, and if we're looking at our best 11, Scanlon actually goes in, who although we sold, we have loaned back again from Aberdeen, and this team is looking a lot better than last season. But who's our goalkeeper, you'll ask? Well, it's another cracking signing. From Portugal, we've just brought him in on a free transfer, and he is absolutely fantastic and much of a step up to what we were using last year. Joining him roughly at the same time is Kieran McLaren from Raith Rovers. 22k we've brought him in. He is a very good right midfielder, Scottish as well, with a good potential, and he's 6'5", so he's great at set pieces. Not to mention, he is absolutely rapid with good natural fitness. So we've sold 300k, but we've brought in 32k, and all the players that we have sold, we've brought back on loan, and I think our team is way better than what it was last season. And there's a reason why we are currently sat top of the league, winning 4 from our first 5, and James Scanlon has 7 goals. We couldn't quite hold on to that top spot. St Mirren ended up going up as champions, but we did make the playoffs, and we defeated Falkirk across 2 legs in the semi-final, 2-1 and 2-2. Loan signing James Scanlon then scored the only goal across both legs against Queen's Park. But to get promoted, we then have to win the Premiership relegation playoff against Aberdeen. And it's times like this you just think, why Aberdeen? How have they got that bad that in 5 seasons they're in the relegation playoff? There are so many clubs in the Cinch Premiership that go up and down that tend to be in those bottom 2, and the one year we reached the playoff final, it's Aberdeen. It wasn't looking great because in the first leg they defeated us 1-0 at home, with Kajunga getting a 87th minute goal. However, in the second leg at the Pittodrie, things were very different, and we stopped Aberdeen from scoring. We equalised through Ryan DeLonge and managed to bag ourselves a winner, and then gain promotion to the Cinch Premiership in just 5 seasons through Cardoso's goal. Now, I can't quite believe we managed to do it. We defeated Aberdeen and we're going up. We're going into the Cinch Premiership. And of course, getting out of the Championship, it took just 5 seasons from the bottom tier. But this club, Stranraer, is now going to be in the Cinch Premiership. We have no right to be there. We have a minus 400 bank balance. We have terrible reputation, non-existent training facilities, non-existent youth facilities. But I'll tell you what, we've got a lot of players who have great potential in this game. I do fancy our chances staying up, you know. I really do. This summer, we had another example of signing players on free transfers and selling them. Ewan McCracken joined last season on a free, and we sold for 275k. Now, not as many players has joined the club after promotion as what you might think. Dom O'Neill was maybe a standout from Queen's Park because I've been scouting him for so long. And then we got 2 free transfers, one Phil Gray from Linfield, who might turn into something later on. He's got great mental attributes from Northern Ireland. And then Omar Saul, who you might remember I've used quite a few times. He's a fantastic talent and already really good at 19 years of age. A fantastic Premiership player that hopefully can bag us some goals this year. We've adopted the best of both worlds in terms of tactics. We've gone for a 4-4-2 with 2 DMs here, allowing us to still play 2 strikers because we've got DeLonge and we've got Omar Saul, who are both really good players. Our first game of the season in the Premiership was not a great one. We lost 3-0 to Dundee. However, we did get our first 3 points in the following match against Hearts when we went on and won 4-0 against them in a fantastic performance. Stepping up into a real good senior role is Damien Levy. He has been phenomenal for us this early on in what is just 2 seasons at the club after making that free transfer from PSG. What a player he is. He's actually been filling in for us at right wing back because we don't really have a good player there right now and have abundance of midfielders. Yet again though, the season preview is not in our favour. 400 to 1, dead last 12th in the league. And if you're looking at the teams in our league, Savinho, Calvert-Lewin and Ronaldo Jr. are all playing at Celtic, and we wonder why they are so good. Although Ronaldo Jr. is only 18, I've still got a chance of signing him in Youth to Gold. We've just got to find a way of raising £31 million and hopefully have him wanting to come to Stranraer. which I don't know which is more realistic. We carried on with this season though, and I dare say we pulled off quite a lot of shocks, especially towards the back end of the season. Because we've actually had a really good season. At one point we dropped down into the 11th position, but pulled our way back up, and that's thanks to a fantastic second half of the season, picking up many wins, especially in February. And a highlight of that was defeating Rangers 3-1 at home. But what could be even better is we also defeated Hearts 4-2 in the Scottish Cup semi-final, and will now go on to face Celtic in the final. Before that though, we finished in 8th place in the Cinch Premiership in our first season, which I am mega proud of, and Ryan DeLonge had the same amount of goals as Cristiano Ronaldo Jr. And just a reminder that Ryan DeLonge was indeed a free transfer. We didn't need to spend £30 million to bring him to the club. However, in the Scottish Cup final, Ryan DeLonge didn't score and Cristiano Ronaldo Jr. did. And Celtic unfortunately go on to lift the Scottish Cup. But still, what a season. I mean, runners-up in the Scottish Cup, incredible. The Cinch Premiership, never really in any danger. 42 points we landed on, which was just enough. I mean, St. Johnstone went down with 34. I felt comfortable throughout the whole season. We were all good. Ryan DeLonge had a great season. Damien Levy, who did in fact get himself sent off in that cup final, is easily our best player though. I mean, he has had a great time playing at right back or at centre defensive midfielder. He has been fantastic. Our only trouble is keeping them, because they all want really unnecessary things like unbelievable training facilities, which we just cannot afford. Ryan DeLonge, again, he's also unhappy. Wants to move to a stronger squad, but come on, there's a lot of heart here that we can really do something. Velhot, I think we really need to secure a new contract with him, because he's got 550k release clause, and he's wanted by Celtic, which that's really scummy if they go and buy our best player. Even Kieran McLaren, who's kind of like our Scottish new gen wonder kid that's been great so far on that right hand side. He's been great and really coming up clutch. Some of the games that he has scored in has really made a difference. Omar Saul, I'm actually tempted to cash in on quite early, because he is wanted by Tottenham, and I think keeping him is just going to be bad for morale, and he might be worth around about £1 million and maybe a good little clause as well. But going into season 7, we have nearly £1 million in our transfer budget, which is great. Our finances are looking way more healthy than they've ever been, thanks to obviously being in the Premiership and having a really good cup run. We've got a bit of transfer debt, but that's nothing to be worried about. I don't think we need to make too many changes to this side. I think as long as we can keep these players, if we do need to cash in on one, then we just replace those, really, with basically just doing what we keep doing. We just keep finding quality youngsters and turning them over a profit. We've only got 4 scouts. I need to keep asking for more scouts, but it's really hard when they don't have the money. This time I might be able to. Our reputation has also increased because of that Scottish Cup final. And unfortunately for us, although we have got 4 scouts, they're not exactly the best, we can only get a certain amount of recruitment focuses. So our scouted players, if we are looking at the only youth to gold candidates, we're not exactly finding, like, I don't know, the second coming of Cristiano Ronaldo Jr., but we are finding some little hidden gems that you can maybe see on this page. Before we even talk about any players in though, Velhot has had a lot of interest, and although we did upgrade his minimum fee release clause, AC Milan came in for £1.2 million, however I did reject. I negotiated and was very happy to sell Omar Saul to Chelsea though for £3.6 million, loaning him back and having a percentage of next sale of 50%. Not bad at all for a player that we only signed on a free transfer last season, remember. But more players have now joined the club, and we're really using that money spread out to actually sign these little players that I think we can keep turning a profit or will eventually turn into first team players, like this guy, Wilfried Koulibaly Sangare. He was the man I thought, if I sell Omar Saul, I want to bring to the club. We've got both because we're loaning him for another season. But for just 220k, what a player that is. He scored 15 goals last season. Hasn't got any yet in a Stranraer shirt, but who knows, he might be the best player that we pick up throughout this whole youth to gold journey. We've even spent £1 million on a player. Unfortunately, we had to give it to Exeter City, which as a person from Plymouth, I wasn't too pleased with. But I think it's worth it because Evan Tyrell is a class centre-back already, and he's only 17. He's English, which means we don't have to worry about like work permits. He can be homegrown after a couple of years as well. He's really good. Bravery at 20. £1 million seems worth it to me. He isn't the only one, though, that I think will be breaking into our first team. There are a few names, to be honest. I mean, this guy looks like a really good CDM that we've picked up from Chelsea. We've got Daniel Divjak, who, again, as a right midfielder, looks fantastic. The technicals and mental attributes on him are great. He is Serbian as well, so it's a nice variety of nations joining the club. We've got players from Africa, players from the European clubs, of course, the UK as well. We've got Ali McLeod, who we've signed from Aberdeen, who I think could be really good. We've loaned into Partick Thistle. Ashton Scally from Rangers, who's a good left back that we've brought to the club as well. Tunkara, free transfer, looks absolutely fantastic. Used to be part of La Masia's academy. Now he is part of this Stranraer side. Frank Aqua, 375k, backup goalkeeper just in case we lose the one that we're using right now. And Ernie Baumann on a free transfer from De Graafschap. That one's probably one for later on down the line. The point being is that yet again we're reinvesting that money that we've gained from Omar Saul, and of course managed to keep him for this year anyway. We're still rocking the same system with this 4-4-2, and to be honest, it started really well. We're currently sat in third because we've only lost one game and won 2 of them. Although we didn't have any good cup runs this season, we did make it into the top half of the split when it got to the end of the season, which is very much an accomplishment in and of itself, and we managed to finish in 5th place as well. We didn't actually finish bottom, and that means Stranraer is in Europe next season, which has reminded me that I've never actually quite mentioned the final goal of this challenge using the Youth to Gold with Stranraer. We aren't looking for Champions League glory. Maybe that's something that you guys can do if I give you the save game file, if you go to patreon.com/MegaLukeGaming, or of course on the YouTube channel membership page. But our aim is to win the Scottish Prem with the worst team in Scotland. And this takes us one step closer this season. Of course, the benefits of getting into Europe means more money, which means we can reinvest in the players, and higher reputation, meaning we can attract better players as well. Koulibaly Sangare was a great signing, as we kind of would have expected. He got 20 goals this season and was the Golden Boot winner in the Premiership, which is fantastic for us as well. Transfer budget, we have just under £1 million again, but as you can see, I've been a busy boy. There's a lot of players already joining the club. I've been using our scouts to find players who are 19 or under who are going to be going out of contract, and this year I found quite a lot of them, so I've decided to just sign the 5 that I found that I deemed good enough that were interested in joining. Now, to be honest, whether they will jump straight into the first team, I highly doubt it. But again, it's just those add-in squad players or add-in players that could potentially be sold on later on, loaning them out, that kind of stuff. Because right now, our first team is looking really good. And we're not really having to worry about age. Alistair Davidson is our oldest player in the first team, and he's 24. That gives us 6 seasons if we didn't have to do anything, where we would not be breaking the rules of Youth to Go. But of course, we're going to continue on. If Alistair Davidson is not very good, we can get rid of him anyway. But the players that we have got at our disposal have grown and developed and got better and better. Velhot is still sticking around despite obviously having interest from AC Milan. We've got the likes of Damien Levy, who's been really good. Ryan DeLonge has still had a good season, although he has been coming off the bench quite a lot. Just 5 goals from him. He's really suffered from the fact that Omar Saul has still been here, but I feel like we can let Omar Saul go and we don't have to replace him. Evan Tyrell, the guy that I signed from £1 million from Exeter, I decided to actually loan out this season to Fleetwood, and I think that was a really good move because he had only played 7 games for us. We loaned him out in January and he got 17 starts and a little bit of development there too. So little decisions like that is kind of what I go by when I get to January, see who's been playing and see who hasn't, and then really make a decision whether it's better for them to go out and keep developing. But we continue to add more new names to our squad. Dean Scanlon from Shamrock Rovers comes in for 500k. This one was a quiet transfer window window, really, with just a lot of free transfers joining the club. No real signings going out. We didn't have to sell anybody this season, and instead we kind of kept hold of our team and just looked to build around it, keep progressing them, keep developing them, and make us better as we head into Europe. And our first season in Europe was quite a successful one. Just the 2 losses in the league phase with 4 wins and some big wins as well, with like a 2-1 win against Valencia. A tough tie against Belgian champions Club Brugge in the round of 16, but we managed to get past them with a cracking 6-4 aggregate win. In the quarterfinals, we were then matched up against CSKA Sofia, and an absolute banger from Carpenter sent us past them. But this is the part of the video where I then get really angry. You know what's coming. Our first season in Europe. Guess who's there? Guess who we match up against in the draw of the semi-final of the Europa Conference League? Honestly, I cannot believe it. Of course, I'm talking about the dirty rats of Rennes. And in the first leg in France, they unfortunately defeated us 3-0. The second leg, at least we didn't lose, although we were having to play our games at Rugby Park in Kilmarnock because Stranraer Stadium is absolutely pants. Not as pants as it must be if you're a supporter of Rennes, though, right? Anyway, overall, our season was very impressive. A semi-final exit of the Scottish Cup by Rangers as well isn't too bad. Of course, semi-final by the Rats of Rennes in Europe. But the Cinch Premiership, once again, we've locked down 5th place, which isn't progress, but when you consider it's our first year in Europe, you gotta take that, right? You've gotta take that. 53 points as well. I'm more than happy. And next season, we've got £5 million to spend in the transfer window. And that, by the way, isn't because we've sold any players in January or anything. Like, that just didn't happen. We've just been obviously in Europe and been successful. Finances, we've got £8 million there, so they're backing us. They're backing us, and we cannot knock that. We're more than happy to spend £5 million. We've already got Graham McPake, who we're trying to bring in, who looks quite good on a free transfer, and we're just going to keep developing these youngsters and keep having good seasons. Velhot is still here. He's wanted yet again, but this time only by Rangers. I think we can persuade him to stay, and he looks absolutely fantastic. Damien Levy, again, he's got a release clause of £15 million. If anybody's willing to match that, I'll drive him to the airport myself, as the saying goes. Evan Tyrell has come back this season after his loan to Fleetwood, and he has been a first-team player, and his development has been beautiful. He looks absolutely fantastic already. Really enjoying his development. Ryan Delange, last season couldn't get into the team. This season, back in and amongst it. Got 6 goals only, but he still played 36 games, which is impressive. Kieran McLaren got 11 goals. He's been really good down that right-hand side. There's just so many names that I could mention. Dean Scanlon's played quite a lot. Only came in this season. Oliver Rowe. I don't even know if we've mentioned Oliver Rowe, but we signed him so long ago on a free transfer, he just seems like he's been part of the furniture. And yet, he comes in and you can see now, one of our best players, one of our best midfielders for sure. This team, I'm starting to fall in love with them. If I have to sell too many too soon, it will make me really upset. I've just seen there, Divjak, 17 assists. 17. This summer, I just continue to reinvest the money that we have been given into more players that we can hopefully make money from in the future. We've got Nux Malo come in here from South Africa, Roman Berger on a free transfer, which I definitely think was a good pickup there. He's left-footed and looks really strong. But some of the players that we've brought in, I am really proud of. Gora Gay. This African player from Senegal is absolutely exceptional for just 19 years of age as a striker, really hoping he can sort of fit into the first team quite early on. Elliot Kidner, that we've picked up here from Wimbledon, looks really good. And if we have to, of course, use him quite early, if we lose one of our defenders quite soon on, I don't think he would be misplaced in this team whatsoever. We are trying to find a loan for him. But we've also spent money on players from other nations too. DR Congo, we've got another centre-back here who might be quite good. Zalatel, who, again, from a country like Slovenia, he's just turned 20 years of age. We've picked him up just before. Another centre-back who's going to go straight into the first team. Yo Sang Kyun from Gongwai. Again, another player who's just turned 20 years of age. Solid right back. Goes straight into our first team immediately. Ndai, another African player from Senegal. Another centre-back.
also really good, who's going to go straight into our reserves. Now, as you can probably tell from my voice, we are recording on a different day now, and I am very poorly. The whole household's been hit with it, but the show must go on. This video must come out, and I must not miss an upload for you guys, because I don't think I've missed a week upload in like nearly 2 years. So if that isn't a reason for you to make sure you're subscribed, I don't know what is. But anyway, Tony Garvey. I want to talk to you a little bit more about Tony Garvey. He is a midfielder we have just brought in, 17 years of age, looks solid if you're looking at his mental attributes, has the potential to be amazing. I took a gamble here. Because he is only 17, and at the minute he's not exactly a first teamer, from MK Dons he cost me £1.1 million. I've played in the first 2 games, and I continue to want to keep playing him. I think playing him is going to be the best move for the team right now, and we started off the season quite well. We've managed to keep hold of all our players. We've got another guy who's just come into the lineup here, Peruvian right back. Again, might just fit around the team more than be a first teamer, but if we're looking at things tactically, I want Tony Garvey to play every single game in a segundo volante position right there. I think this could be the way forward, because he could be the next generational talent. We don't really know, but with mental attributes like that, it's worth giving it a try. Unfortunately for us, in terms of European qualification, despite us taking a goal advantage into the second leg, it was still bad news. As after Ashton Scally got himself sent off in our home leg, we ended up conceding 2 more goals, and Kalmar FF managed to qualify instead of us. In the league, we've had a very inconsistent start, but then as deadline day approached, we've had even worse news. Yeah, I don't know how many times this happens to me recently, but it just seems like it's been more than any time, really. But Evan Tyrell has left the club with an hour to go on deadline day. So I didn't find a replacement because I didn't realize one needed to be set. I just kept clicking. They accepted the bid without me even realizing, because there's so many emails on Football Manager and you have to go through so much. I just kept clicking and I missed it. Then all of a sudden I seen Evan Tyrell has gone, and yeah, I'm really disappointed. Of course, he's been at the club for a few seasons, but this is the first season last year where we actually give him game time. We developed him. And yes, we've made £7 million profit from him, but I just really wanted him in the team because he looks absolutely fantastic. And annoyingly, we loaned out Elliot Kidner like literally days before the St. Mirren. So I think we can't recall him just yet. We might have to wait till January, but when we do so, I might recall Elliot Kidner if we really need him, and try and bring him into the first team instead. I did indeed bring Elliot Kidner back in January after he's played quite a lot of games for St. Mirren in the Premiership, 17 times, even getting himself a goal, bringing him back, and he's straight into the first team. Results have been a little bit all over the place though. Sometimes we win really well, sometimes we're getting battered when we shouldn't, and in the Premiership we're currently sat in 5th place. On paper, where we finish in the league doesn't look amazing, but when you look at the points tally and how close we were to the top 2, then we've got to be really proud. Because this was a really progressive season, and even in the Premiership Championship group that we managed to get into, we did really well and stayed unbeaten, which I think is quite an achievement in and of itself. In those 5 games, we drew to both Motherwell and Rangers, beat Celtic on the final day, and yet we finish in 4th place. We've got European football qualification next season, but with 64 points, we are only 2 points behind Rangers, who finished in 2nd place. Celtic are in a bit of a league of their own right now. You can see just by the players that they have in their team. They're going to be really difficult to manage to not only catch up to, but to beat and win the Premiership. But the fact that we're this close to Rangers is a great sign, especially when you consider that we didn't really have a standout season by any player. Our top scorer had 12 goals all year, and in the last game of the season, he got a hat-trick. So I don't really know how we've managed to pull it off. The development in the players has been good, and don't get me wrong, our 3 attacking forces that have managed to score a lot of goals have all had good development. A little bit disappointed with Ryan Delange. He only scored 8 goals in 36 starts, which is a bit of a letdown considering how good he has been in previous seasons. But I think we've got players coming through who have really helped, and performance-wise, really getting us to the point where we are right now. Only 2 points behind Rangers. Damian Levy is easily our best player. He has been solid for us, whether he plays right back or he plays centre mid. He puts in fantastic performances every single time. And he's almost at 200 appearances for the club now. Now, in the bank, we only have 725k, although I have been spending it because, of course, we sold Evan Tyrell. So I've actually brought in quite a few players already, or we've got players that might be coming in. If we're looking at the likes of Matthias Noble, £2.8 million for a fantastic centre midfielder with great determination as well, which is always a good thing. Heading ability and technique. He looks really good for 18, so he'll be joining us soon. We are also waiting for a work permit on a guy that I just found again from Attribute Searching. Attribute Searching, physical attributes above 15. Look at that. I put it down to it's like 3 out of 10 or 3 out of whatever it is, 7, whatever it is. And I found this guy as a free transfer. Again, it's one of those things that you don't really know how to do until you just stumble upon it and you find a player and you think, I need to do that more often. Put all the attributes for physicals in at 15 and keep taking down that number out of however many it is, 8 or whatever it is. Went down to 3, found a really good player on a free transfer. Hopefully he joins the club. We also had a player who joined us midway through the season, Zoran Milovanovic, who has gone straight into our reserve team, but again, we loaned him right back to the club, which we bought him from, which was the reason why. 57k for this Montenegrin player who, if you look at him like at 18, looks really good, doesn't he? Plays attacking midfield, which right now we are utilising. I don't know how much we're going to stick with that, but right now he could get into our squad. We raised some money throughout the summer by selling Kieran McLaren, who went to Birmingham City for 2.3 million. Along with the players coming in that you've already seen, Sada Ndoye also joined us, another Senegalese player, this time a centre-back though, who has fantastic mental attributes, and again we picked him up for just 225k. We had a lot to do if we wanted to qualify for the Europa League after losing the first leg 3-2 at home, but we went to Brugge and we managed to pull off a 2-0 win, which helps us qualify, and our league form has been quite good as well, with just the one loss against, of course, champion Celtic 3-0. And one final signing came through the door on deadline day in Simbracalo, somebody who won't quite feature just yet, and we're putting in the reserves. A great season in Europe as in the league phase. We won 4 games, including a big win against Monaco and Feyenoord, a draw to Karabag, and we lost 3 games unfortunately, but they were all still really tight, other than the away trip to Turkey. We in fact got all the way to the quarter-finals, where eventually we met our match and Wolves beat us 5-2 on aggregate. And possibly our late run in the European competition might be the reason why we weren't as good in the league this year, as it was another 4th place finish, but this time we are miles off the pace of Rangers in 2nd place with 73 points. Our 3 strikers were chipping in as well, and Koulibaly Sangare has really started to develop into a deadly striker. Ryan Delange got his goal scoring form back with 17 this season, and Gora Guy chipped in with 16 as well, and he looks great. We had another casualty midway through the season though, as our deadline day of the January window, Elliot Kidner was signed from Manchester City, and he was the guy, of course, that we brought back from his low deal at St Mirren to play when we lost the last centre-back. But our finances are looking quite good. £11 million, expecting slightly more because of the European run, but still £3.5 billion in the transfer budget. The summer going into season number 11 though was a wild one, and we've even tested a new system that I'm kind of interested in trying. You're probably thinking as well that there's a new name in there. We've got Varga, who is playing left back, Milos Varga, who has just joined the club for £4.5 billion. And yes, that is more than the budget. And that's because we've actually sold quite a few players as well, and one big player going out. Now, I've been giving him quite a lot of game time. We've got Zoran Milanovic, who we only signed like last season or the season before for 57k, loaned him back. He eventually came. We played him for 31 games this season, sold him for 11 million and loaned him back. So I think that's quite good business, and from off the back of that, we've been able to really invest and spend quite big in terms of players. We've got a backup goalkeeper now for £2.5 billion. He's nowhere near good now, but could be quite good with good potential. Vieira's another player that we brought in from Maritimo for under £1 million, and I think that's quite a good steal, really. He is going to be kind of a reserve player. Maybe we'll use him sparingly, and in fact we've actually loaned him this season to make sure he gets first team football. We got Darko Budjanovic, who again looks like a really good attacking midfielder now that we've got 2 of them in our new system. He has picked up an injury at the start of the season, but it isn't to anything serious. That was a £1.5 million bid. We've got Leandro Almeida, which is the final one, who plays at right back. He's Portuguese, could also play left back from Braga. Now, players are willing to come from Braga who have good potential to play for us. It tells me we're on the right trajectory there, which I'm really proud of, because I think this tactic could be a bit strange to begin with. We've got 3 at the back with 4 backs, so 5 across the back line, which we're not normally used to. We're normally just 3 at the back with 2 wing backs, but we're using liberos to try and help the defensive midfielder in there. And the reason for it, we've got too many good strikers, and now we've got quite a good number of attacking midfielders that I kind of want to give them all a chance. but we haven't got as many good DMs. We've got the likes of Tony Garvey, who hasn't developed as much as what I hope he would, although he's still quite pricey. Matthias Noble looks really good. He played quite a lot last year. And of course, Damian Levy, but he's also been playing right back and centre back and filling in quite well. He'll be really good in libero. Domestically, though, this season was really bad. We ended up finishing in 6th place with just 53 points and was some way off 3rd place Motherwell. We do, however, have a lifeline, because in the Europa Conference League this season, we finished in 4th, which meant we went straight to the round of 16, defeated Rapid Vienna, won the quarter-final against Aberdeen quite comfortably, and the semi-final against Ghent 11-2, which means we have to play Hellas Verona for a chance to play in Europe next season. And I guess, actually, a European trophy, which is quite an achievement. And we got the job done, scoring 2 second-half goals against Hellas Verona to make sure we lift the European trophy and qualify next season. So this season 11 was a bit of a strange one, really, because league form-wise, we were terrible. And in the cups, we weren't bad. Semi-final and quarter-final, Motherwell knocking us out both times. They were the 3rd best team in the league this year, which, you know, fair play. But we got a European trophy, and if we're looking at performances, like individual performances, we had some massive ones. 29 goals from Koulibaly Sangare, who his value keeps going up. I think attribute-wise, we've kind of hit a wall here. We might look to cash in at some point, because I don't think he's going to get much better. Gora Guy, on the other hand, I think will, and not only just that, but potential ability. We have been upgrading our staff behind the scenes. As you can see now, we can now get 12 scouts in total, which has been massive, and we've been able to invest in terms of the recruitment focuses. You can see now we've got a lot more in terms of recruitment focuses. We just need to keep remembering to upgrade the scouting range each season, because that kind of dissipates throughout the season really quickly. I need to put more money into my scouting budget every single season, but we need to make sure that we're on top of that. But I think on the pitch, the players that we've got right now, with a little bit of development, we could be looking at some quality players. Don't think the system is correct. I think we need to tweak that ever so slightly, possibly go for a 4-2-2, something along those lines. But I love the idea of playing like a double libero and doing something a little bit unique. So I think sometimes Football Manager can be very boring if you go with the box standard, and you know sometimes I do love a wacky tactic. This was wacky tactic. It won us a European trophy, but we're going after that Cinch Premier League trophy, and we were nowhere near it then. I did mention how we could be possibly losing Koulibaly Sangare, but I didn't expect somebody to match his £17 million release clause, but that's exactly what's happened, and to be honest, I'm happy to let him go. New season, new system, and we got some new names as well. Now we're going for that 5 at the back still. Instead of having 2 liberos, we've got 1, and that's because we've still got 2 DMs now, dropping 1 from that attacking midfield, which I'm gonna leave Mazewski in there as much as possible. He's been really good development-wise. He still needs some appearances, so we're going to give him the game time as much as we can, but as you can see, there are some new names. I didn't go crazy with the signings, just a few to be honest. Bae Yong Chan from Pohang Steelers looks like a really good centre-back that we have brought in from South Korea. Not bad, but he is only 5'11". We need him to develop a little bit more if he is to break into the first team. We've also got Kike Argos from Elche, 800k for this guy. Again, a really good centre attacking midfielder that we have brought in. And then onto this page, Gavin Osborne, £2 million we've got for this lad. Now, he only plays centre mid right now. I'm looking to see if I can loan him out, but no luck just yet. He does look really good though, and has good potential. But Luka Dukic is going straight into the first team from Partizan. Great pace, great dribbling, great finishing ability. The aggression's there as well. This guy could be a game changer for us. As could the system, because we've played against Celtic at Celtic Park at the start of the season and beaten them 2-1. Now, I know we need to make sure we don't get ahead of ourselves, but this is a fantastic result against a very good Celtic side. They've got the likes of Chidi Obermartin in there. They've got some quality players. And in the Premiership, we're currently sitting top. We are only joint points though, because we have drawn a game. Unfortunately, it's Dunfermline. Like, how do you go and draw to them when you beat Celtic at Celtic? Although they are in 3rd place and do it quite well as well. We just need to make sure we keep at it. And this season, we've had quite an easy start because we haven't had to play all the European competitions for the qualifying stages, which has been nice. It meant that we can just play our best team every single game instead of having to kind of manage them game by game as it goes along. The combination of our two strikers up front, Goragai and Dikic, worked really well, and Dikic ended up being our top scorer this season. After a decent league phase in the Europa League, winning 4 games, we went straight into the league playoff round, but unfortunately lost to Lille. In the Scottish Prem, we went through some bad patches towards the end of the season, and it actually went a lot of games without winning one, but we finished quite strong, and although we were still nowhere near Celtic, who finished with 91 points, we finally finished in second place. So a huge positive, I think. Even Luka Dikic got 17 goals, which would meant he's third in the goal scoring charts. Goragai got 16, so both of them doing quite well, really. Chidi Obi Martin with 27, but that's the caliber of player we got to play against here in Scotland now. And if we're looking at the squad, both of them performed really well throughout the whole season, and Misefovic actually did really well as well. He's getting 16 goals. His development's been solid. The Macedonian player's been really good, and we've got a lot of development in a lot of different players. If we're looking at our best players, Goragai is the standout, and you can see why. Attribute wise, he's fantastic. He's also wanted with a £21 million release clause, so hopefully nobody activates that. But Milos Varga, who we've introduced into the team last season, has been phenomenal. The physical attributes are fantastic. Mental attributes have got better, and he's got a lot of assists. Just this season alone, he only got 7, although he only played 19 games. Last season, he got 13. The development that we've seen from him has been great. Tony Garvey has rightfully pulled himself back into the first team. I doubted him a couple of seasons ago, but this season, the development has been fantastic, and that is, of course, the system allowing him to play alongside the likes of course, Damian Levy or Matthias Noble. And he's been developed quite well into now being a first-team player in that position. Transfer budget, we've got £9 million to spend. Depending on how well we spend it, we could find some little hidden gems to get ever so closer to Celtic next season. I didn't go crazy with the money, and I started by bringing in Danny Patterson, who goes straight into the reserves right now. Could be a future left-back for us, who is Scottish, of course, so works the homegrown stuff and has a nearly 5-star potential, but already showing great signs with good physical attributes. The next 2 players that we did spend quite a lot of money on, with Martin Pavelka coming in, who looks to be a really good centre midfield, good first touch and passing ability with good vision. And if we're looking at him right now, £5 million does seem like a bit much for the league that we're in, but he could be a great player who develops into a quality player that we maybe sell on, or is just worth the money in general. The next player I brought in was this Polish right back who could also play right midfield, and there's a reason why I brought him in. He has decent physical attributes already, can cross, can dribble as well. He cost £2.6 million, and I'm locking him in to my new system. Now again, we're rocking something different. We've gone for very much a 4-3-3 if you're looking at players like that, but with one attacking midfielder and using just one winger on the right hand side and playing him there. Dikic keeps his position up top, but there is money left, and that is because I'm going to go for a player that I've seen pop up that could be a game changer. And that guy is 19-year-old Swiss midfielder Dominic Blackman for just £1.2 million, who is class a 4.5-star player in our side right now, and you can easily see why. It's the easiest decision I have made to bid for a player. We get the deal done and over the line before deadline day, and he joins at a time where Stranraer right now are flying. We are beating everybody in our path. We've even qualified for the Champions League, and in the Premiership domestically, we've won 4 out of 4, although we haven't played any of the big 3 yet. But when we eventually did, especially against Celtic, we picked up a 1-0 win with Tony Garvey scoring the only goal. By all means, we haven't had a perfect season. October, in fact, we picked up 2 losses to begin with and 2 draws to end with, but we are still top of the league right now. Celtic seem to be having a bad season. Could this be the year that we lift the Scottish Premiership? Even if it isn't, we also had great pleasure in knocking Celtic out of the Champions League in the knockout playoff round 6-5 on aggregate. But with just 2 games left before the split, we are unfortunately 3 points behind Celtic, and of course that is the hardest thing to overcome. Beating Celtic and getting above them. Of course, that also means though we've got to play them at some point, and we got the job done with Dikic getting the first in a 2-1 win. And that surprisingly puts us into the driving seat, because Celtic have dropped more points and we're currently top of the league with just 4 games to go by 3 points. We can't afford to drop any points still, but a loss to Hearts is devastating, because that just means another slip up and the title could be gone. A tricky away tie to Motherwell next, but thankfully the boys got the job done in a massive 3-1 victory to pick up those very vital 3 points. But then something unbelievable happened because Hearts took all 3 points against Celtic when they came to Tynecastle Park. And despite us getting absolutely battered on the final day of the season by Rangers 4-0, we were still celebrating because Stranraer have just won the Cinch Premiership, only using the Youth to Gold system. Genuinely, this might have been one of the hardest challenges I've ever had to do. Thanks to Surprise Shirt for setting me up with that one, because Youth to Gold I've always done with a club that has a varied amount of history and money to start off with. I've never done a Youth to Gold where you literally have zero, nothing. You barely even have a wage budget to bring any loan players in. That's the most difficult part I found, and I generally thought, I mean, this team that we've built now, I never had dreams of being able to get that part when we were about 3 or 4 seasons in. I actually thought this would be impossible. I thought I'd have to restart the challenge and just do a normal Stranraer challenge. But my God, I am so glad I stuck with it, and I stuck with the Youth to Gold system. It never lets you down eventually. There were difficult times, but then when you find all these hidden gems like Gora Guy, or the players that we've sold for huge amounts of money along the way, the centre-backs that came in, obviously the strikers that we had earlier on. Let's go through some of those players because those signings were so crucial in the early seasons to allow us to actually have any money whatsoever. Siem Ayoub, it feels like a while ago that we picked him up. I mean, we even had like clauses in a lot of these guys that never came into anything. But he went to Motherwell for 100k, and it was the best 100k we could have had throughout this whole challenge. 300k the season after, and then you're looking at the next step, 450k. That's the deal with it. That's what you've got to do in the Youth to Gold system. That first time we sold a player for over 1 million, and it was Omar Saul for 3.6 million pound. He's now at Qatar, in Qatar CS or whatever they're called, but he looks quite good. But the money that he brought into Stranraer was so crucial because it allowed us to buy players like Evan Tyrell, who moved on for huge amounts of money again for £8 million. He's moved on again for £6 million. He might not have ever amounted to anything, but because he was there and he gave us the money to sell him on, it allowed us to keep buying these players in and keep developing fantastic players. And yeah, we've wasted a lot of money as well, but that's the thing with this. You never quite know who's going to be good and who's going to be not. We've messed around with a lot of systems. This one at the end was absolutely fantastic. We cannot deny how great it has been. And of course, if you want to try it or you want to carry on the save and explore, the save game file will be made available for everybody on patreon.com/MegaLukeGaming or the YouTube channel members. So thank you very much for all your support on there. But yeah, another tricky one. I might do a giveaway for this Stranraer shirt, so if you leave a comment down below, I'll pick a winner to send you this shirt that I am wearing. And I'll tell you what, I won't even wash it for you. You can just have it straight off my back because I probably won't wear it again. As much as I like Stranraer now after this Youth to Go challenge, I probably won't be wearing this shirt. But if you want it, you've left a comment, I'll pick a winner at the end after a week or so, and then you can potentially win this Stranraer shirt for your collection. Maybe you want to start a Stranraer save using Youth to Gold. I don't encourage it. It's really difficult. But maybe that's a challenge that you want to be up for. Thank you very much for watching. Really do appreciate it. Make sure you are subscribed and check out this video on screen right now, because I gave my dad a really tough task in Portugal. And to be honest, the finances I seen on there were the worst I've ever experienced on Football Manager. I still don't know how he done it.